Is this the end of all speculation? In the midst of the Tokyo crowd, Jungkook finally opened his voice and admitted something he had been hiding about Taehyung, and to his surprise, Taehyung was seen smiling meaningfully. What really happened between them? This is a form of honesty or the beginning of something bigger? Tokyo, a night that should have been ordinary, turned into a stage that will never be forgotten in the history of BTS's journey. At an undisclosed hotel, in a private event attended by only a few HYB staff and a few close associates, Jungkook, BTS's golden magne, stopped his guitar and gazed out at a large glass window overlooking a city sparkling with summer lights. In a pause that made the entire room seem to stop breathing, Jungkook said something that made everyone present freeze. "I've kept it for too long about Taehyung." No one prepared to hear what happened after the sentence came out. And the most surprising? Taehyung, who was sitting not far from Jungkook, smiled. Not a cynical smile, not an empty smile either, but a warm smile, as if he knew that finally something has been done. The question is, what has Jungkook actually kept about Taehyung? And why does that confession actually make Taehyung seem happy? Some speculation began to emerge. Some say that this has to do with the rumors that have been circling the two, about the distance seen in recent months, about the body language that changes when they are on camera, and about the silent moments that the media avoid. But no one could have guessed that that night, in Tokyo, it would all explode in one statement that changed everything. Jungkook is down. His hand clasped the microphone tightly, like someone struggling hard not to let his emotions break out. I've been scared all this time, afraid of losing him, afraid to admit it because I myself do not understand how I feel. Silence. Only the sound of breathing was heard, and the ticking of the clock on the wall was ticking slowly. Taehyung didn't budge. His eyes remained fixed on Jungkook, and there were tears. But not tears of sorrow. It was tears of understanding. The tears of someone who knows how deep the wounds are held for too long. I asked this confession about love, about friendship, or about a secret that only the two of them knew for years. Jungkook finally stood up. He looked at everyone in the room. You probably won't understand, but I have to be honest, my feelings for Taehyung have kept me quiet for too long. At that moment, Taehyung stood up. He walked slowly towards Jungkook. And in a gesture that seemed to be replayed in slow motion by everyone watching, Taehyung hugged Jungkook. Old. Tight. It's like the world out there doesn't matter. What makes all of this feel so surprising is the long background between the two. They're known as soulmates. Jungkook is an iconic couple among the ARMY. But since the beginning of 2024, the ARMY began to notice a strange distance between the two. They no longer perform together often. The gaze that used to be full of warmth now seems to be limited by an invisible wall. What really happened during this time? In some interviews, Jungkook appears more reserved when asked about Taehyung. Taehyung, on the other hand, always answers with a diplomatic smile. But that smile never answered the real question. Was there a conflict between them? Is there anything deeper than friendship? And that night in Tokyo seemed to be a bright spot for all those puzzles. After the long embrace, Jungkook said, "I want everyone to know that Taehyung is an irreplaceable part of my life. I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I love him as a best friend, as a brother, maybe more than that." And Taehyung? He looked at Jungkook and answered in a voice that was almost a whisper, but echoed throughout the room. Finally. Finally? What does Taehyung mean? Does he have the same feeling too? Or is it just an emotional moment of two best friends who have gone through a storm together? That night turned into a night of tears. Even some HYB staff were seen wiping away their tears. There is no scenario. No camera. There is no grand stage. Only two human children who have grown up together in a stressful world choose to be honest. And no less surprising, the next day, Japanese media began airing photographs taken secretly by eyewitnesses present outside the building. In one of the photos, Taehyung and Jungkook are seen walking side by side, laughing as they used to, without masks, without fear. One of the sources said that after the statement, the two spent time together in a Tokyo city park until late at night. Not talking much, just sitting on a wooden bench, staring at the stars. But the most touching was when Taehyung touched Jungkook's shoulder and said, "We are finally free." Free from what? From pressure? Of secrets? From something that has been shackling them in silence all this time. What is clear is that the moment was not just an ordinary confession. It was an explosion of honesty that had been buried for too long. A bridge that was rebuilt after a long collapse. And what left ARMY around the world speechless were not only Jungkook's words, but Taehyung's so sincere response that whatever was said that night, it didn't change the love and acceptance between them. Korean media also began to raise this news, although with more diplomatic language. But the fans, ARMY in particular, know very well there is something much bigger than just recognition. This is the beginning of a new chapter between two human beings who have shared the stage, loneliness, happiness, and wounds together. However, will HYB let this continue to develop? Or are there things that will be censored, rearranged, or even erased from the public memory, as is so often the case in this industry? Because the morning after the incident, fans noticed something suspicious. One of the short videos uploaded by internal staff was suddenly deleted. Captions that had previously hinted at a historic moment in Tokyo were replaced with neutral phrases such as casual meeting. Even some big fanbase accounts suddenly stopped discussing the incident, as if there was a directive to be silent. But one thing that cannot be erased is the memory of everyone who was in the room that night. They watched Jungkook become his most honest self. They see Taehyung accepting all of it with an open heart. And now, the big question still hangs. Is this the beginning of something new? Or is this just an emotional moment that will soon be buried by the pressure of agencies and society? One thing is certain. After that night in Tokyo, nothing will ever be the same. The night is past. Tokyo is never empty. But for Jungkook and Taehyung, time seems to have stopped since the confession was said. Days change, and a new morning brings more anxiety than calm. Although the atmosphere of the city seemed to go on as usual, there was a distinct vibe in the air. It's like something is shifting, either in a more honest direction or in a more dangerous direction. Jungkook didn't immediately return to the dorm. According to eyewitnesses, he stayed at a small hotel not far from the site of the meeting last night. Not a 5-star hotel as usual, but a modest place, away from the public eye. Some meticulous fans even recognized a corner of the room from a blurry photo that had leaked on social media. But what made their hearts beat faster was Jungkook's expression in the photo, alone, looking at the ceiling, his eyes red, but his lips forming a strange little smile. Relieved smile, or a farewell smile, and Taehyung. He just posted a short story. Just a picture of the Tokyo sky in the morning, accompanied by a faint inscription. Finally, we can see the same sun. There is no explanation, no name. But who can deny the meaning behind those words? Armies around the world began to speculate. The hashtag VKOK confession instantly ranked one global trending topic in just 2 hours. Comments poured in, full of hope, but also fear. As most of them know, such recognition is not something to be taken lightly in a world full of censorship, images, and contracts. What is really going on behind the scenes of HYB? According to an insider who declined to be named, the evening sparked concern among management ranks. Not because Jungkook is telling the truth, he said, but because no one can stop him. That means the reins are starting to wobble. And in an industry like this, control is everything. The question now is, will HYB pressure them to shut up? Or just reverse this moment into a more restrained narrative? Some longtime fans recalled a similar incident years ago when an idol from another agency made an emotional confession that was later obliterated by the system. Interview withdrawn. The photos are deleted. Even the fan site footage was lost one by one. Will history repeat itself for Jungkook and Taehyung? But one thing makes this moment different. Taehyung's happy expression. How could a person who is at the center of public recognition of feelings could look so peaceful? That's what makes theories come up. Some believe that Jungkook's confession was part of a grand plan, that both have tired of bearing the burden of secrets, that they no longer want to live under the shadow of rules that pressure them to be perfect, but they're also worried that happiness is happiness before separation. That moment was the last permission before something was forcibly taken from them. Did I ask it possible? This is a farewell message. Some ARMY members began associating Taehyung's story with songs he had been playing in recent months. One of the songs Taehyung performed on Live IG, Blue and Gray, suddenly sounded different after that night. Lyrics about loneliness, about a sense of loss, are now like voicing a sense that is stored more than just lyrics. And the most slicing? A few days after the release of the song Horizon, ARMY could not sleep peacefully. The song becomes a kind of mantra stuck in their heads, but also a kind of warning that something big is happening, and they don't know if they're ready for it. But what happened next made it all feel much more real, more dangerous, and more painful. HYB held a closed meeting. Unusually, several big names from the legal and PR teams were reportedly present. Are they discussing public statements? Or preparing to manage possible reputational damage? Astonishing. None of BTS's official staff have uploaded or liked anything related to Horizon song, as if they're being told to be quiet. But as always, fans are never blind to patterns. The more one is silent, the more questions arise. Did I ask Jungkook being punished secretly? Even more slicing, BTS's official account only uploads product promotions, like nothing happened. There is no reference to the song, which has been heard more than 20 million times in 3 days. The song so clearly reflects the upheaval of a Jungkook's heart. A song full of hurt, full of love, and full Taehyung. But as if against the tide, Taehyung once again made a move that broke the silence. He uploaded a short video on Weverse Live. Duration is only 12 minutes. No background. Just Taehyung sitting in his living room, looking at the camera. Not much to say, but the expression, more honest than 1,000 words. Sometimes he smiled a little, sometimes he took a deep breath. Then the 307-second, he picked up his little guitar and played a familiar tune. The first verse of Horizon, the ARMY trembled. Is this a form of support? Does this mean that he admits that the song is indeed for him? And finally, Taehyung spoke. Just one sentence. You all heard it, right? He said it with his whole heart. You all heard, right? He said that with all his heart. That sentence instantly blew up Weverse. Thousands of fans were crying. Comments flooded. But in that silence, one question arises that cannot be ignored. How will HYB respond? Because now, it's not just Jungkook. Taehyung is not playing it safe. He confirmed without naming names, without answering directly. But who doesn't understand the meaning of that phrase? A few days after that, rumors appeared that shook the fandom world even more. Jungkook reportedly canceled a variety show that had been scheduled for months. The organizers did not give a reason, just say that the artist's schedule is changing. But the fans understood. It's not just a schedule change. Did HYB start restricting Jungkook's movements? Meanwhile, a senior South Korean entertainment journalist, known for leaking accurate information about the K-pop industry, made a cryptic post on his personal account. Love in K-pop is either sold or silenced. Nothing in between. Does it satirize Jungkook and Taehyung's case? Is that a sign that the agency will choose to hide them? But what happens next makes it all feel like a thriller. Someone sends a short video to one of the big fan sites. The video shows CCTV footage from a small cafe in Tokyo. The date? The night before Jungkook's confession. And what a surprise, in the video, it is clearly seen that Jungkook and Taehyung are sitting together. Just the two of us. Without a mask. Without guards. Only them. Laugh slowly. Whisper. Sometimes they look at each other for a long time. It was no ordinary meeting. That looks like a goodbye. The tape lasted only 1 minute 43 seconds, but enough to make the whole fandom split. Some say it is proof that they do indeed love each other. Others are afraid. Was that night the moment they decided to end everything? Did they know that after that, there will be no turning back? In the footage, at the last second, Jungkook appears to be clutching Taehyung's hand on the table. Taehyung is down, and although there was no sound, Taehyung's lips were clearly recorded. Don't take it all on yourself. The sentence made an impression on everyone's head, and suddenly everything became even more painful. Because everyone knows, Jungkook was always like that. It protects. He shouldered. Even if it destroys itself. Then came the long-awaited evening. the night of Jungkook's first solo concert in Tokyo. This is part of his international tour that started a few months ago. But that night feels very different. Not only because of the songs, but because of the atmosphere. Like there's something to be said. Like everyone in the stadium was holding their breath. And sure enough, at the end of the concert, as the lights began to dim and the audience prepared to go home, Jungkook stepped to the front of the stage. He held the microphone tighter, and he started talking. Tonight, you all heard the song I wrote in the most honest way I've ever done. I do not know if I will have another chance to do this, but I want you to know, I have no regrets.